Hello everyone, I welcome you to my YouTube channel Professor Civil Mandal. Here I speak about civil engineering and you will find my various video lectures regarding various topics of civil engineering over here. In the last part of this video, we were discussing about the limit state method of design, and we will continue this particular discussion in this part also. And in limit state method of design, we actually discussed about the types of limit state which we have. That is, for safety we have limit state of collapse, and for serviceability or durability we have limit state of serviceability, and what are the factors which we consider in this particular limit states. Also, we also considered the design strength of material, how to calculate the design strength of material and what type of factors which shall be multiplied to it, and also the design load, what shall be used, and various load combinations along with the partial factor of safety, so as to study like which can be the most deadliest combination, which can be the most which can give us the highest load or highest bending moment for a particular structure. And also we did a similar question related to this thing to clear our idea. So in this video we will be starting about the limit state of collapse, and for this we have few assumptions. First one is that the plane section remains plane after bending. It means strain variation over the cross section shall be linear. So the strain variation that shall be considered over the cross section should be linear. So in real life scenario that might not be true, because whenever a beam bends, that somehow distortions might be there in the cross sections while they are also getting bent. So that minimum number of deflections or those undulations are actually not considered in our limit state collapse of failure. We consider the plane section remains plane after bending, and the stress variation or the strain variation over the cross section is linear. Note that the section must be considered parallel after bending, though it is not true in practical scenario where plane section doesn't remain plane and we see little negligible deflection. So this assumption is done for our easy designing or easy calculation, but in real life it doesn't happen, so somehow we get some variations. Next assumption is that maximum compressive strain is limited to 0.035 in concrete. So we consider the maximum compressive strain up to 0.035 for concrete. So we limit that particular compressive strain, and the stress strain diagram is of the concrete is as given below. You will get similar type of diagram in IS 456. So this is the 0.67 FCK and this is 0.67 FCK upon gamma m, that is our 1.5. Gamma m is the partial factor of safety. Here I have represented it, and that gamma m is equal to 1.5. So this is actually our 0.45 FCK, or you can say it 0.67 FCK upon gamma m. So also we have limited our strain up to 0.035, and this is what we have assumed in our second point, and this is our stress strain diagram, and it is considered a parabolic curve. Next, also note that any variation of stress strain curve of concrete can be considered, provided that must comply with experimental results. So any variation of stress strain curve of concrete can be considered, provided that it should comply with the experimental results. So we will it's not like that we will neglect the variations. No, we will also consider slight variation if it is there, and it must actually comply with our experimental results. The tensile strength of the concrete is ignored. We ignore the tensile strength, as we know that it is weak in tension, so it's better to ignore that tensile strength of concrete. Later the steel do this job in a better way, that it will consider the tensile strength. We will consider the tensile strength for the steel only, not for concrete. And the stress strain diagram of steel under compression and tension is as given below. So this is our stress strain diagram of steel under compression and tension, and this is represented for mild steel. So as you know that for mild steel we also had something like ultimate stress or ultimate strength. So in general we actually neglect that thing because we know that that much of strain which is given in our ultimate strength is not possible in practical scenario. RCC structure don't show that much of strain, so we are keeping it up to the yield stress, that is Fy, and that is our 250 Newton per mm square for our yields, for our mild steel, and this graph is thus for mild steel, and ES is up to this much, that is 200,000 Newton per mm square. The maximum strain in tensile steel at the time of failure should not be less than this particular value, 0.02 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So this thing is mostly asked in many of the competitive exams, that what is the maximum strain in tensile steel at the time of failure, and it should not be less than what, and it is this value. So if it is given equal to or greater than, please ignore those options. Always remember it should not be less than this thing, that is it should be greater than equal to this thing, not equal to or less than or any other option. Next, note that maximum limit of maximum strain of tensile steel at the time of failure is not defined because steel is very ductile as compared to concrete. So the maximum limit of maximum strain of tensile steel at the time of failure is not defined because the steel is very ductile as compared to concrete. So we limit that maximum amount of strain up to 0.0, up to this particular value. So this strain value is not known to us as it is very ductile. Our steel is very ductile. Next is the minimum limit of maximum strain of tensile strain at the time of failure is defined for utilization of steel, and it is at 0.87 Fy. So the minimum limit of maximum strain of tensile steel at the time of failure is defined for full utilization of the steel at 0.87 Fy. Next, we will be discussing about the representation of the stress block diagram, and we will also analyze that particular stress block diagram. So now, based on the assumptions which we had taken earlier, so we can see that this is one cross section of a beam. We are taking what we had assumed in the previous discussion, that this is this cross section, and we are applying that assumptions on it, and this is our, suppose this blue line, let us consider let us just forget this black line for this moment, and let us consider this blue line only, and this shows the stress block diagram for our the strain block diagram. You can say this is a strain diagram for this particular cross section of this particular beam, and I have given reinforcements over here, and let us suppose actually the strain diagram is up to here, but we can increase it up to here, considering that this particular side of the concrete will almost behave as this steel, and thus we will have this similar pattern of strain diagram up to here. So now, as you know that the maximum strain for a concrete is 0.0035, and as here only concrete is present, so I will write 0.0035 over here. So now B the neutral axis is NA is represented by neutral axis, so B the neutral axis XU or XU limit, and this particular strain always will be not more than 0.0035. Now this I have represented here two neutral axes. XU is the general neutral axis, it can be present anywhere, and XU limit is the limiting neutral axis, or it is the maximum possible depth of a particular neutral axis. So we can keep our neutral axis from this point to this point, anywhere somewhere between this. So, and this neutral axis is particularly decided by the amount of steel which we are using and the concrete which we have, the grade of the concrete which we have, or the characteristic strength of concrete which we have. So now, as we had read that, so one correction must be done to that particular note, that in that note we have 0.02 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So that is actually wrong. So it is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So that's a printing mistake. You must consider it. I'm sorry for that. And this is the value of that maximum particular strain of that steel element. This is a strain of a steel element for a maximum possible strain for the steel, and this point is shows the maximum possible strain for the steel for XU limit as the neutral axis. And if the neutral axis is at a depth XU, then this will be, our point will somehow come over here, but still it will be 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So now I have taken these two triangles which was defined by the XU limit over here, and I have named it somewhat like OA, B, C and D. So now as we know that these two things are forming some somehow similar triangles. Angles are same and somehow these sides are quite similar, or you can say this angle is also same. So angle similarity is there. Simple mathematics. So from similar triangles, that is triangle ODC and triangle OAB. So these are the two triangles which we are considering, and the similar triangles are used. So now we can do that OA upon AB is equal to OC upon CD. This is the property of the similar triangles known as the basic proportionality theorem. That is, our OA upon AB shall be equal to OC upon CD. So now OA can be represented by this XU limit. So I am writing XU limit over here upon AB is given by 0.0035. So I'll write 0.0035 over here, and OC is given by, so OC is given by, suppose this is the total depth of the beam. Depth is up to, suppose the depth is up to here only, up to the steel part of the beam, so up to where our reinforcement are there. So D is up to here only, and this D minus XU limit is our OC. So it is D minus XU limit upon CD is given by this thing 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So it is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy upon Es. So this is our value, and if I try to solve the XU limit and in terms of D, because D is not known to us, D will be provided as per our design, D, that is the depth of the beam. So if I try to calculate XU limit for different grades of this steel for 250, the possible grades are Fe 250, Fe 415 and Fe 500. These are the three possible grades of steel that we will be using, and for this steels, if I put the value of Fy over here as this particular 250, 415 or 500, so if I put Fy as 250 and Es as our Es as equal to somehow around, Es is equal to suppose 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. We are putting that value of Es, that is the maximum possible value. So putting that value of Es equal to 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square, and considering Fy as 250, our XU limit stands out to be equal to 0.53 D. Similarly for Fe 415, XU limit is equal to 0.48 D, and for Fe 500 it is XU limit equal to 0.46 D. Just by putting the value of Fy's and taking Es as 2 times 10 to the power 5, so we will get the XU limits for the three different grades of steel somehow like this, and we will put, when we are stuck with the XU limit problem, when we are seeing that we have the XU limit somewhere in our question, so we can replace it with by their corresponding 0.53D or 0.48D or 0.46D depending upon the grade of steel which we are having. Now let's analyze the stress block for that particular previous concrete which we had done. So now for this, what I have done, that I have made one stress block diagram besides the strain diagram of that particular concrete, and I am considering the top part only, bottom part I am neglecting. So I have represented it with the break line, and this is our strain diagram, and at A dash D dash we have 0.002 and at B dash C dash we have as usual 0.0035 as a maximum strain. And now this is partially linear and partially parabolic, and we have two center of gravities over here, and areas are A1 and A2, and the center of gravities for the linear part or the rectangular part, I can say it is at a depth y1, and for this one, for the parabola, it is at a depth y2. And for reference, I am telling you one more thing, that center of gravity for a parabola, 2 degree parabola, is at somehow 5/8 of A from this side and 3/8 of A from this side, if this particular side is of length A. So from the strain diagram, I can write this, that using the property of similar triangles for this one and this one, these two triangles for similar triangles O A dash D dash and O B dash C dash, these are our two similar triangles. For this, it is O dash A dash upon A dash D dash, which is equal to O dash B dash upon B dash C dash. So now replacing it as O dash A dash, I can replace A dash D dash as 0.002 and O prime B prime as XU and B prime C prime as 0.0035. So this is what happens after the replacement, and similarly I can get that O dash A dash is actually 4/7 of the neutral axis XU, of the depth of neutral axis XU. O dash A dash is at a depth of 4/7. So I can say that this thing is 4/7 of XU and this part is 3/7 of XU. This is 4/7 of XU and this is 3/7 of XU. 4/7 and 3/7, yeah. Okay, so now A dash B dash is equal to, what is A dash B dash? It is equal to O dash B dash minus O dash A dash, right? A dash B dash is equal to O dash B dash minus O A dash. So I am here interested to find the dimension of A dash B dash, and O dash B dash minus O dash A dash will give me A dash B dash. So it is equal to 3/7 XU. It's quite easy to find out. So now let's write the area of the stress block. So the area of stress block will be given by area of this OADO, this parabolic part, and the linear part that is ABCD, ABCDA is equal to the area of OADO plus area of ABCDA. So now it is equal to, so for parabola the area is 2 by 3 times area of the particular rectangle which it is constituted of, that is OADEO. This is the particular rectangle and its part is this particular parabola, and it is 2/3 of that particular parabola. So this is how we get the area of parabola. So that is 2 by 3 times area of OADEO plus area ABCDA. So this is what we get. And next, area of OADEO is 2 by 3, and this area of this particular rectangle is this length multiplied by this length time breadth, and this length is 0.45 FCK. I have represented it here, and this length is 4 by 7 XU that we got from the previous calculation. So it is 2 by 3 times 4 by 7 XU multiplied by 0.45 FCK plus area of this one is 3 by 7 XU multiplied by 0.45 FCK, the area of the other rectangle. This is 3 by 7 XU and this is 0.45 FCK. Next we have this area. So the area of the stress block will be equal to, this area will coming out to be equal to 0.36 FCK times XU. This is our area, 0.36 FCK times XU. So the position of CG from top fiber, position of CG from top fiber will be given by A1Y1 plus A2Y2 upon A1 plus A2. So this is how we get the CG of this particular whole thing. So because it is constituted of two parts, so A1Y1 plus A2Y2 upon A1 plus A2 will give us the CG. So it is now equal to 3 by 7 XU times 0.45 FCK is the area of A1, the upper rectangle, multiplied by half of 3 by 7 XU, because it will act at the half of this particular length 3 by 7 XU, plus 2 by 3 times 4 by 7 XU times 0.45 FCK is the area of the parabola multiplied by the CG, that is 3 by 7 XU plus 3 by 8 of 4 by 7 XU, because we know for parabola CG can be of at 3 by 8 distance from the side, so it is somewhere over here 3 by 8 distance, and it is 3 by 8 of this 4 by 7 XU, and plus, so if I want to get this, the coordinate of this one, it will be 3 by 7 XU plus 3 by 8 of 4 by 7 XU. So now it will be, the whole thing will be divided by A1 plus A2, that the total area of the stress block was 0.36 FCK XU. So I'll divide this with 0.36 FCK XU, and therefore position of CG from top fiber is equal to 0.42 XU. This is our location of that particular center of gravity of the from the top fiber. So that was what we got about this particular representation of this stress block diagram, and also we did one analysis of the stress block diagram, and this particular calculations are attached in the note. And regarding the notes, what we need to do one thing, that this thing has to be corrected, that it is not 0.02, it is 0.002. I will put the revised notes in the description of the link. I'll put the link of that revised note in the description. And okay, so the next part is, there's a question: calculate the total probability of failure of structure as per IS 456. So it is to calculate the probability of failure of RCC structure as per IS 456. So before that, one must memorize this huge formula. So this is not huge numerically, but it is huge textually. That is, the total probability of failure is equal to the probability of material strength below characteristic strength multiplied by the probability of load below characteristic load. So the probability, first term is the probability of material strength below characteristic load, and probability of load below multiplied by probability of load below characteristic load. So that is, our probability of material strength below characteristic load is 0.005. So we consider that 5% is below our characteristic strength, so that is 0.005. And probability of load below characteristic load is, so we consider that the load should be, probability of the load which is being acting on that particular structure should be below the material strength or our characteristic load. So that is 0.95% chance, or that is 95% chance. So I am multiplying it with 0.95. So it is equal to 0.95. That is probability of load below characteristic load plus the probability of material strength above characteristic strength multiplied by the probability of load above characteristic load. So the probability of material strength above characteristic strength should be taken up by the maximum part, that is the 95% part, and that is 0.95. So the probability of material strength, so it is taken for the maximum probability that the material strength above the characteristic strength will be higher, and the material strength below the characteristic strength will be 5% chance. So 95% chance is given to this, multiplied by probability of load above characteristic load. So the probability of load above the characteristic load is given only 5% chance. So that is 0.05. So again we have 0.95 multiplied by 0.05 for the second case. For the third term is the probability of material strength below characteristic strength. So the probability of material strength below characteristic strength multiplied by probability of load above characteristic load. So probability of material strength below characteristic strength is 0.05, and multiplied by probability of load above characteristic load is 0.05, which is the adverse chance of failure. So this is also a chance of failure, this is also a chance of failure, this is also a chance of failure, and this is the most adverse condition which has the least probability of occurrence. So it is coming out to be like this: 9.75 into 10 to the power minus 2 in the order of minus 2. So before we finish this chapter, we will conclude about some important facts related to LSM. That is, the failure is based on principal strain theory. So the total failure which we are studying about this is based on the principal strain theory, on the principle of the strain theory. The safety is checked at ultimate load while serviceability is checked at service or working load. So the safety is checked at the ultimate load and the serviceability is checked at the working or service load. LSM gives a smaller section dimension with more amount of reinforcement as compared to WSM. So LSM gives a smaller section dimension with more amount of reinforcement as compared to WSM because we consider the safety more in the limit state design as compared to the working stress method of design, about which we will be reading in some later chapters. So LSM gives us a smaller section dimension with more amount of reinforcement. LSM is again economical than WSM. LSM is economical than WSM, and design load in LSM is ultimate load. So the design load is in LSM is considered as ultimate load, which is the product of characteristic load and partial factor of safety, while characteristic load is considered as design load for WSM. So for WSM we consider the characteristic load. So this was all about limit state method of design, and this method is used for designing most of the elements of an RCC structure like beam, column, singly reinforced, doubly reinforced beam, slab, many things. So now, if you like my video, please like it, share it to your friends and juniors, and also I request you to please subscribe the channel. This job takes a hard task, and this is a very hard task to maintain all these notes and deliver all these particular video lectures. So it is just for you, it's just one job, is to just to subscribe to my channel, just to press that small red button. So that will give me a lot of motivation, and thus I can bring better videos for you in the upcoming lectures. So thank you. Please subscribe to my channel.